So today I want to talk about Ding Dong and Julian, who used to be co-hosts of a Let's Play channel called Oneyplays. For a little bit of context, most recently they have said something about Oneyplays on their stream that basically said they weren't too happy with Oneyplays, so they have some grievances. However, most of what they said are, in lack of better words, and I'm just being honest here, pretty ridiculous in terms of like their complaint. But anyways, yeah, they said a lot of things that are pretty ridiculous, but I'm not just here to simply rehash and rephrase what they've said and say, oh, they're funny, it's funny that how like fucking insane these guys are, because everyone already knows this. You can go watch, there are like several other videos that are talking about this. You can form your own conclusion, and I'll just say mostly from my own perspective, why is it that I think they think this way, and I want to look forward and I want to see in what way can they actually improve. Because I feel like these people, Ding Dong and Julian, are mentally unhealthy. I think they genuinely are probably paranoid, and they look at things in a manner that seems to think that a lot of things are out to get them or out to harm them. And I think, obviously that's not a good way to think about things. That's not a good way to look at life. I just think that genuinely they require help. Like, everyone knows that. Everyone already said that. But I want to, at least within my own capabilities, within my own competence, try to give them advice on how they could help themselves. So first of all, I want to make something very clear. I'm not defending them. I do think what they've said are pretty ridiculous, and there's like no way around it. And I think it's very important for me to like first clarify that, because what I'm about to say might seem like very sympathetic towards them. What they've said, a lot of the complaints are just whiny complaints, in lack of better words. They're just making a mountain out of a molehill. One example they gave is that apparently Ding Dong, he has a fetish, which is a tuba vor fetish. He likes to see furry characters getting vored by tuba. So apparently he thinks that Chris in some ways exposed that he has this fetish.
They do it to a lot of people, by the way, constantly taking vague shots at people over and over and over again. They did it to us too. That was why they brought up the tuba thing in the one video. That was them trying to take a shot at me.
That's just physics. Is that a big tuba? What is that? Oh, I'm horny. Let's go into it. Fuck. I'm not horny anymore.
I'll be honest, I've been on the internet for quite a while already. I don't think I've ever seen a tuba vor fetish. I've seen a vor fetish. I've seen an object fetish. This is the first time I've seen a tuba fetish. I've done seen everything when I've seen a tuba fetish, I guess. What I'm about to say is essentially why I think it is that they would look at things this way. So a little bit more context on where Ding Dong and Julian came from. Prior to them joining Oneyplays, they used to be on another Let's Play channel called Game Grumps.
Hey, I'm Grump. People like me are supposed.
And you see, Game Grumps was pretty successful, and so they wanted to start making their own games. And they wanted to make a game called Dream Daddy. Dream Daddy, it's a dating simulator game where you basically try to date and try to hook up with other people's fathers. You're trying to fuck others' fathers. Ding Dong and Julian were a part of their team, essentially. And they saw that in that game there's this like gay character. He's like a very stereotypical flamboyant gay character. Julian and Ding Dong, they themselves being gay, voiced complaints, and they said, hey, it looks a bit bad for us, essentially. But most of the other team didn't really give a shit. They just said, okay, whatever, and then just move on with their day. So they didn't make any changes. And so I think Julian and Ding Dong decided to go onto the internet and voice their complaints about it. And obviously that caused a whole fuss. And so the team behind Dream Daddy weren't too happy about it, obviously. And so yeah, the relationship sort of soured. And outside of that, certain fans was crazy enough to think that, oh, just because these two like sort of made some complaints, then it means that they fuck up the whole game. And I love Game Grumps and I love Dream Daddy, and so these two must pay. And so they got harassed a lot for it. I think that they themselves have said some people decided to call their mother and told them that they are gay, and their mother is very homophobic. I think it was Ding Dong's mother. Another thing is that apparently someone was actually fucking crazy enough to pull up to their house with a gun. So that was an actual credible threat to their lives. So yeah, obviously that experience gave them a pretty bad impression of people, I guess you could say. And I said all this and I gave so much exposition because I want to lay out why is it that they are so incredibly paranoid. They experience basically some of the worst the internet has to offer. I wouldn't say like this is exactly the worst, like there are like swatting and there are like other stuff. Like the internet can genuinely ruin your life forever. However, what they experience is also pretty bad as well. So I think it gives perspective on why is it that later on they see so much this innocuous things and yet they see it in such a harmful, such a negative point of view. I think that definitely like influenced how they think a lot, just for their own good. I really hope that they could change the way that they think, because imagine being Ding Dong, imagine being Julian. Just every day you see something and your mind immediately connects it to this is an insult against me, this is a slight against me, they're trying to harm me. And if you express it, and now that they've expressed it, now that they've said it, everyone on the internet will make fun of you, and somewhat rightfully so. I mean, like, you're trying to throw shades, you're trying to hurl back at others. In their eyes, in Julian and Ding Dong's eyes, they are simply like retaliating when they think someone has acted against them. But the reality of this situation is nobody thinks that. Nobody really thinks that Chris has ever like said anything against Ding Dong, especially after they left already.
I think the finale was supposed to be a thing of keeping us stalled out and like continuously as a factor here, which is why every single time it got brought up after the first time, it always had to be some vague kind of insult slung towards our direction, like we messed everything up.
What happened to the finale to Yik? Bro, I'm afraid we just canceled it. It just got too overhyped and it's just done. I'm sorry.
Is it okay to talk about the fact that you guys were making some cool custom stuff, or is that not even worth talking about?
That's fine. We got like a little bit into doing stuff,
bounty.
And then it was just too much work, and then all of our lives kind of caught up, and there hasn't been any time to focus on it. It was gonna, we overhyped it. It wasn't even that interesting. It was just the end of the game, and we barely said much over it.
Nobody thinks that people are out there to try to get him. Like, prior to this, at least, I would say most of the internet, like, of course there are going to be like insane assholes out there, but most of the internet are very respectful towards Ding Dong and Julian. They like, because at the time they never really said anything in terms of why it is that they left Oneyplays. The most that we got was basically just creative differences, and also they had to move to somewhere else. So that's why Ding Dong and Julian left. And most of the internet understood that, and whenever Ding Dong and Julian said that please don't mention Oneyplays on our site or whatever, they want to do their own stuff, most people respected that as well. The fact of the matter is, prior to all of this, Julian and Ding Dong had like quite a lot of respect, and like nobody really cared for like, oh, if they're gay or like if they're any of these like more so minority or fringe groups. Like no one cared that they're a furry or whatever. No one cared that first of all, no one even knew that Ding Dong has this fetish. But I believe that even if he himself said just randomly someday, most people wouldn't even care that much. Like, yeah, it's funny, yeah, it's amusing, so what? It's like a meme thing, it's like a funny thing, it's not a slight against you as a person or your personality. Like people who genuinely think that, oh, you're a fucking pervert, you're a fucking creep for just liking tubas, is probably they themselves kind of crazy. But now that you've, in lack of better words, you've made enemies, now people are going to act like that because they feel justified to do so. So yeah, not the best situation, I'd say. For what it's worth, I think this whole thing is going to feed into their delusion more, because now people genuinely are like out to get them, in lack of better words. You can also say that people just want them to take responsibility and be accountable for their own words. So let's look forward, right? Let's look in the future. What can Julian and Ding Dong do now that this whole thing has happened? Here's what I think. Simply apologize. You don't need to say a lot. Like, I know that online apology, like internet apologies, had always had a bad reputation because you fucked up already. But I'd say just make a simple video or something. Just say, hey, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said what I've said about Oneyplays, and then just go off the internet. It's as simple as that. I understand that their income comes from Patreon, their income comes from content creation, but I don't think it's worth it at this point, in lack of better words. I think that it's better for you to find a job in real life. It doesn't necessarily have to be like something that's fancy. It could be just like a simple, like maybe you go to McDonald's or something. I know that a lot of people say this type of stuff as an insult. I do not mean it as an insult. I mean it as genuine advice, and try to get off the internet for, I would say, at least a year or so. I doubt that they could ever, in lack of better words, forgive Oneyplays, forgive Chris O'Neill. because it seems that, when they left Oneyplays, it was already many moons ago, many years ago already. And yet, I guess, still, it was only most recently that they have expressed these opinions, expressed these views. And thus, it's clear to me that it's something that probably like stay with them. If it could be brushed away, if it could be erased, then they would have like forgotten about it a long time ago. Why is it that after all these years, only now they brought up? I think that it is really important to think about who does it benefit for you to like hold on to these grudges. Does it help you? Does it truly help you? Do you feel happier or do you feel more miserable? I think I've also held grudges. I've also got like people whom I really dislike. Is it difficult to forget them? Yes, I'd say. To this day, I still remember like, what is it that they said to me and how I felt they like slighted against me, how I felt they disliked me, whatever. But is it gonna be healthy for me to constantly think about this? No, I don't think so. It might be difficult for me to try to forget about it, but I at least understand that it would be overall more helpful for me. Overall, I would be a happier person if I can just forget about these memories. I think that is an important first step for them to at least understand that point, because I think so far they don't seem to think so. They think that they need to hold on to these grudges. They need to, in their perspective, hold Chris O'Neill accountable for what he has done. And I feel like even from that perspective, just let go, please. It would be better for you, honestly. And so this is what I think. I think that they should just get off the internet and just try to look inwards towards yourself. I would say some like final personal thoughts. This is a video I've been struggling to make for quite a while already. I've been wanting to make this video for the past day. Essentially, I recorded like 36 minutes of me talking about this. I'm probably not going to be using it. But it is because I just feel it is really difficult to decipher this situation in a manner that to me at least feels actually tasteful and doesn't feel like I'm just like dogpiling on top of like the current trend, the current drama essentially, because I really don't want to turn this channel into just drama slop. But yeah, overall that's what I think. I hope you all enjoy this video. See you all.